right, guys, welcome to episode two of Two Docs, One Mic. This is Adil and my friend Humayun. Here we are, number two.
Yeah, our intro kind of became like a Joe Rogan intro where we were just talking. It wasn't
Yeah,
meant to be like that.
right. I know.
But
You caught me off guard by hitting record before I knew you were ready.
yeah. But how's your week been, man?
Week has been good. It's been a standard week, you know. Today was a
Surgery.
clinic day. Yesterday was surgeries. So it's been decent, pretty standard.
Yeah,
Nothing
yeah,
too special.
yeah. You living the dream, you think?
Someone's dream.
Every everything you imagined medicine to be when we set off on our
Yeah.
journeys back in the day. You think it's all that it you thought it would be?
Good question. I mean, in some respects, yes, it is cool. It is fun, fulfilling. In some, it's frustrating, which I guess is the nature of any job, any lifestyle. But it is funny, to kind of think back when we were in, I don't know, high school, college. We were thinking about becoming doctors and embarking on this path. What we thought it would be like at that time, and pursuing the whole pre-med dream, the pre-med route, and then being here now. It's just it's different.
It is, it's something you just wish for so much. You're in high school. Just only if I could just get into a good college, and then when you're in college, you're like, oh my god, I just need to do well on the MCAT and get a decent GPA, and then you're like, oh, I just wish I could get the MCAT. I can't wait till that one day I'm a physician. And then you just kind of, have this fantasy in your head that being a physician is which don't get me wrong. I mean, I think being a physician is great, and I love it. I love my job, and I love what I do. But there's a lot of frustrations. The dream is there, and I really enjoy what I do. I like helping people. I like But the question is it truly worth doing for anyone? For I think it is for me. It's been, but is it for everyone? I don't know. I could not have predicted the work environment of a physician when I was starting out. I could not have predicted what practice means, what does it mean to be, going through residency, what does it mean to be going through fellowship. That's a vision I did not have. I had a dream vision that I wanted to go through, but it's funny thinking back to the high school days. The high school is a blur. I feel like life truly started when went off to college, right?
Yeah, I mean, in high school everything is so insulated, and your time is very accounted for. I think you it's regimented. You have to go to school for a blank amount of time. You have your sports or extracurriculars of choice after that. Then you come home, you do your homework, you have dinner with your parents, maybe hang out with friends, maybe not during a school night, and then you go home, go to bed, and you do it again. But when you're in college, the freedom to pick your own schedule, to go to class, not go to class, all of that stuff. So I agree with you. I think once you get into college and you're so-called on your own, that really makes a big difference. And that's kind of when, I don't know, I think a lot of these decisions when you're in high school and you're kind of thinking, what do I want to be when I grow up? It's such a common question, that your adults around you ask, your parents, friends will ask you, your school counselors will ask you. I mean, you have no idea.
No
And when you
idea.
get to college, you're like, I still don't know, but I'm kind of comfortable maybe not knowing.
Bro, I still don't know.
I know, right? But that's
But
kind of, what you were mentioning earlier, like, you just want to get into good college, then you want to do well on like the MCAT, then just get into med school, just get into residency. I think during that whole process of training, there's always something that you're striving towards, right? Some end goal, something you're looking forward to, and you do it, you accomplish it, and you move on to the next step. So you kind of finish one little block and you're on to the next. Once you are in practice, there is no next step. Like the rotation doesn't end. You don't finish your internal medicine rotation and go off to general surgery next for 2 more months and then switch to a different thing. You don't stop doing shoulder surgery now you do ankle surgery. There isn't. It's just life. It's just practice, which is very different. And I agree with you. It was very hard to estimate what the average day-to-day life and the day-to-day challenges would be as an attending physician compared to when I was in training. It's very different.
yeah, it's funny, but in a sense, we're lucky as physicians, as medical trainees. We have a pretty set regimen of how we want to kind of our career path is pretty set for us, right? I mean, every pre-med knows that in college they have to get a certain GPA, take the MCAT, then the next step is med school, the next step is residency, the next step is fellowship or other further training. Then after that is when you truly learn what it means to create your own path. And it's kind of, I think creating your own path is a skill. That's what differentiates one physician from another, one successful person from another. In the real world, I mean, someone who comes out of college at 22, they have to create their own path. They have to find a job. They have to think of a career. We are shielded from that in our 30s. Or in our 20s, we're shielded from that. We don't have that responsibility of choosing and grabbing on the opportunities we get. Yeah, there are opportunities that come, but they're still pretty regimented. Okay, this research project or this our biggest decisions are usually made for us. Matching where we're gonna go do our training. There, we don't make that decision. Unfortunately, we rank places, we interview places, but in the end, it's up to the forces at large to decide what we're gonna do and where we're gonna go. It's good and bad in a way. I think we're shielded from a lot of the make your own path kind of skills in our 20s that a lot of people learn and develop careers, maybe start businesses and maybe get into different fields that they might enjoy. And for us, we're on this train and you can't get off the train sometimes. If you get off the train, that's a big life change, but did you in college? I mean, I think both of us had very similar paths, but very different in certain ways, right? You went to TCU, right? I went
Yeah, yeah.
I went to Texas A&M, and I'm an Aggie. Like I mentioned, I think in the last episode, I'm gonna keep mentioning that. I don't have to.
Gig 'em,
But
baby, gig 'em, right?
yeah, but here's the thing. There's a big debate now. Are colleges worth it? I mean, what does a college education mean? And for me, I truly don't remember what I learned in college in the classes that I took. Like, dude,
Yeah.
what is organic chemistry now? Like, looking back, how big organic chemistry used to be. Like, everyone used to be like, "Oh my God, OChem." I don't know what I learned in that class. I think it's just I think the basic building steps and tools that you learn along the way to get into med school. A lot of stuff you don't use anymore, but I think the lessons that I remember from college are the life lessons. You learn how to be an adult in a safe environment, right? You can try things, you can be part of things, fail, and then maybe retry again. There's this cushion in college, which I think is an important part of, I think, becoming an adult. I think my biggest education in college was I was part of an organization, a fraternity. Just being part of that just taught me so many life skills that I still use. I mean, we ran events. I remember as a freaking 18-year-old, 19-year-old, we were organizing like big dinners and gala dinners, fundraisers. A bunch of us 19 to 20-year-olds, organized a 5K run and had people attend from other cities. And that was a life education that you don't get out of other places. I mean, when else would you get together with a bunch of your friends and organize a 5K or organize a gala dinner or a date auction? That's the kind of education I remember from college, not the biochemistry I learned. Yeah, that was important. I think at that time it was important. I studied, I took the exams, got the GPA I needed to get into med school, where a lot of the stuff I learned I still don't remember. But
Nobody remembers it, bro.
so I think that's why colleges are important, because it's a place for young people to go to school, be in a place where they're learning stuff, but also be around other adults their age and try things that are different, try things that are risky, try things that might not be successful, but then fail, and then the consequences of that are not that huge sometimes.
Yeah,
Try.
totally, man. I think like it's like almost a popular thing for people that are hyper successful to say in the public eye that, oh, I don't think people need to go to college. I think it's a waste. Even though, funny enough, most of those people did go to college themselves. Like Peter Thiel is a common one, a famous Silicon Valley investor who commonly says that oh, I don't think people need to go to college, but he did, and I think it's just like a cliche, and it's an incomplete statement to say that. It's clickbait in a way because, like you're saying, the formal classroom education is one but small aspect. There's all the social relationships you make, the extracurriculars you're involved with, and the friendships you make for life that can be connections. It can just be a true friend. It can be a little bit of both. It can help your career. You can meet your spouse. I mean, anything like that. All of those things are huge, and they're a lot more than the joke of, "Gosh, I don't even remember OChem." Well, I don't remember OChem either. you know, um, and I also think it helps you grow in a way and you learn about yourself. Like, I very rarely went to class because I found I didn't really learn in class. It wasn't an efficient thing for me. I would just do it on my own, and then you have a lot of free time to do whatever you want. Um, so I think those things are huge. Those are really important, and those are the real skills, the social skills, and learning about yourself and how you can better accomplish things. That was a big factor in college, and then learning to fail. Like, I'll give you an example. When I was in, gosh, I think it was the summer between like sophomore and junior year, I want to say, maybe a little further along, somewhere middle-ish of college. Me and three other friends, we started our own investment company, like completely unrelated to medicine. We're all very interested in stocks. We had independently traded for a while. I started stock trading when I was in high school. Traded stocks and ETFs and options and all. And all of us kind of did. And we had been talking about it for a while, that this is interesting. We really like it. We would nerd out on it. Oh, look, this went down. Are you going to short this? And we decided to just kind of pool our money together and form a little investment company. We met with a lawyer. We incorporated it and everything. And so we started managing just our own money initially. We got a few, friends and family together and started taking in checks and stuff. I mean, it's funny as it sounds, a bunch
Who
of
invested in the
19-year-olds.
company? Who
Huh?
invested in the company? A bunch of 18-year-olds.
Yeah, a bunch of people that were not interested in keeping their money. And so, but we grew it a little bit. We hired two interns, and we just did that. And we tried to formalize it, even though it was a small thing, and we were doing it kind of just for fun and just to see where it goes. We had like a rotating monthly managing partner, did the whole thing. We would meet, we had minutes of the meeting. There was a lot of goofing off involved, a lot of making fun of each other involved, roasting each other on, oh, that stock, that sucks, dude. You really thought that would go up? Like that's just how our meetings went. But it was fun running it, and we basically ran it until all of us graduated, and myself and a couple others got into med school. One guy went to business school. One guy pursued a master's. And so then we dissolved it. We all, gave the money back to some of our investors, and then took our own share of it. And so, I thought it was a wonderful experience. I mean, it was my first experience really working with other people in real life when money was involved. And you really see, even though the amount wasn't huge, you really see how people can change and decisions can change, and people's behavior changes when finances are involved. And when people say, it's a risky endeavor to go into a business with your best friend or your sibling or whatever, it can be if your incentives are not aligned and your vision is not aligned. Because it can create a rift, right? One person thinks they're doing all the work, they're carrying the team, the other person's kind of coasting, and vice versa. So that was a big learning experience for me that honestly had nothing to do with my major in college or my minor or just the classes themselves. It was just the opportunity to be around people that were somewhat like-minded, similar interests, and were driven to try something, to do something new. And I just think that was an awesome experience. And a lot of people have experiences like that. That's what I really think college is. It's a collection of these experiences that really can shape your path in life.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing, man. I'm pretty sure during college, I didn't even know what a stock meant. So you were already way ahead of me in that. I for me the college was just like a eye-opening experience. I mean, I was just, I think I didn't grow up sheltered per se, but pretty much stayed within our neighborhood. My close friends were around close to me. We would just hang out with each other in high school, and I was I was an immigrant. I mean, I was new to the country. For me, a lot of things were new. My family moved when I was around 8, 10, 10, 11 years old. Then just high school was the first introduction to me to the country. I mean, that's when I started, and just adjusting to a completely new culture, a new country. That was a big deal. And back then, I mean, Houston was not the same how it is now, where everything and you're familiar with is around you. It was a little different. I mean, I grew up in Katy, where I did not have a lot of friends that looked like me or were like me. Uh, so going to college was just kind of eye-opening because I got exposed to so much more to what there is out in the world. I mean, my parents throughout high school were pretty just they're busy just kind of creating a life here, you know. And one big thing in college was making my own decisions, learn how to like, even just figuring out how to apply for college. I mean, my parents had never applied to college in the U.S. Figuring out how to apply to college, what is FAFSA, how to even apply for a student loan or apply for grants, or what apartment to choose, how to find roommates. Unfortunately, I mean, a lot of parents nowadays that have grown up here, I mean, I'm pretty sure I'll be doing that for my kid because I know how to do that because I went to school here. But I made those decisions on my own. Picking what major, what classes do I need to take, going on a college visit, going through all that. I think that independent decision making is what's missing nowadays, and that gave me a lot of confidence in in my life ahead because I see a lot of people now, a lot of parents that make a lot of their decisions for the kids. No, you're gonna do this. Let me just take you there. This is the college you should go to. Sometimes I think it's important to kind of figure things out on your own, guide them maybe, kind of push them in a certain way, but let them make a decision.
So let me ask you this. I mean, that is an interesting question, right? And I think it's a thing a lot of parents struggle with. Like, at what point, you're observing your child and you have the, I guess, advantage of experience and context of real life, because you've lived it before they have. At what point are you observing your kid and you see them, making a mistake or making a potentially bad decision, knowing them in like easy, simple, harmless example? Let's say they pick too many classes in college in their first semester. They take 25 credit hours or something silly that is maybe too much of a workload. They're going to be stressed. They're going to be doing too much. They're not going to have enough time at the start for social engagements if they're just constantly working and studying and stuff. Do you allow them to make that mistake and learn from it on their own? Do you immediately counsel them that, hey, you shouldn't do that, maybe don't take this, this, and this, and you give them the reasons why? Like, at what point do you step back? At what point do you let go of the reins and let them, as you said, just kind of learn it on their own and live it?
That's a hard thing, man. I don't know how I can see my kid picking 24 5 credit hours in the first year and being like, I'm gonna do this, and then me not being like, hey, are you sure? Like, you want to have some fun? Make sure you have a social life as well. I'm gonna be giving that advice, whereas my parents as new immigrants, like, they didn't know what even credit hours were at that time. So I didn't get that advice. I don't know what's better. I truly don't. I don't know if me learning on my own, but for me it was a lot of talking to my peers, reaching out to people, and I think you do get advice from somewhere, right? You just don't just make decisions blindly. I think maybe what we do need to teach our kids is learning how to find the answers on their own sometimes, seek advice, seek other people's opinions, not just have wait for people to tell them what to do, but actually seek multiple opinions, get advice from different people, hear from one person, hear from the other person, and then make an informed decision. I think that's a skill to have too. And that's I feel like I did that in college, where I talked to my friend, who was already in college, or called someone who was kind of applying with me. Hey, what are you doing? And then based on those things, I mean, that's how we make a lot of decisions now, right? I run things by my other friends. Hey, I'm thinking about doing this. What do y'all think?
Yeah,
So
I mean, we even do that all the time in practice. Like, if I have a complex case, like patient comes in with a difficult like elbow fracture, I'll send photos of the x-rays to my colleagues, my co-fellow from fellowship, a few of my co-residents, people I know in the area. Be like, hey, what do you think about this? It's so common. People do the same thing. They send me x-rays all the time. Just as an easy example, that in life, day to day, in practice. I mean, today, I think I got like 4 texts from other people. Hey, here's this wrist fracture. What would you do? Hey, this patient has this injury. Would you treat it this way? It's very common, right? You accumulate knowledge from other people. I think it's very, very normal thing to do, and it's a good skill to learn early on.
yeah, I mean, that's so true. That's the key part about college. I mean, college is a place where you learn these life skills, and I wouldn't trade my college experience for anything, But there were times in college that I did not think I would make it to med school. I don't know if that was like that for you ever, where there were failures, there were struggles for me. For me, I had to take the MCAT three times. I took the MCAT first, and I did horrible. I mean, I studied all summer long. I took the Princeton review, Princeton review course. I did really good on the science and the what was the science and physics? No, there's
I guess they've changed the
yeah,
MCAT now as
but my
well. So
verbal, the verbal was what
yeah.
killed me. I mean, I scored horrible on verbal. My score was disastrous, and I was like, okay, I'm definitely not going to get into med school with this score. And then, but I still applied. I didn't get a single interview my first time. Um, I applied to med school, didn't get in, and my senior year, I was like, oh man, I'm not in med school. I'm a freaking biomedical science major. I don't know what kind of job I can get with a biomedical science degree. But then that summer, right after, I took another. Right after I did poorly on the first one, I took a second time, and then again my verbal score went up a little bit, but it was still bad. And I didn't get in that time. But then that summer after I did get in, I studied, and what I don't know what I did. It just focused on verbal mainly, and got that done, and got an amazing MCAT score. My third time through, applied, got a bunch of interviews, um, and that's kind of when I was like, okay, but there was a long time where I did not think I was going to get to med school. I was thinking maybe I'll have to apply to some out of state schools, or maybe even the Caribbean school to go. I thought about that. I mean, I wanted to be a physician. I knew that's what I wanted to do. That was a dream, and I kept trying. But that's the key. I think I'm glad I took the third time, because after the second time, people were like, it's okay. Just go to the Caribbean or do whatever. Or maybe look into other things. Or maybe keep applying. Maybe another year. The third time taking the MCAT might not be uh, a good idea, but that's the thing. So many people are there to give you advice, and then you have to do take information from everyone, but do what's right for you. So I'm glad I took the MCAT the third time. And if there's anyone that's struggling out there with two failed attempts at the MCAT, take it the third time, because
Third
you will.
time's the charm, right? Third time's the charm. No, that's interesting, Humayun. That I mean, I didn't know that about you. I think it's awesome that you persevered and did that, especially as you mentioned, you knew deep down that this is what you wanted to do, right? Like this is not just a goal, it's the goal for you, at least professionally at that time. I mean, did you have any thought, like, as you were going through it, I'm sure you had some thoughts of like, gosh, what if I just don't get in? Like, is there another career path? Had you thought about a realistic other career option, or you were gonna get in hell or high water? It was just a matter of figuring it out.
Yeah, I think it was a matter of figuring out. I didn't even, I had no other options. I mean, literally, it's funny. Every time I went to the last time I was driving to the MCAT test, I was like, okay, I was super nervous, and I played the
Yeah.
8 Mile, uh, the Eminem song. And I was like, this is it. This one chance.
There you go.
This is
Don't miss
it.
this opportunity.
Yeah. So I took the test. Luckily, I mean, something worked. Something worked, and I mean, maybe it was just a bunch of prayers. And my third time was a really good score, and that kind of negated all the first two failures. I mean, life is about failures, right? I mean, when you have failures, you learn a ton, and then as a dad, it's gonna be hard to see my kid fail at things. As he grows up, I mean, he's gonna go through failures, but I think that's important. I mean, failure is a part of what makes you stronger, builds resilience. But luckily I got into med school. But I did take a gap year now, and I worked as since I applied towards did that MCAT towards the end of my senior year. I worked as a research coordinator. And funny story is, the building that I'm sitting in, we're sitting in my office right now, and I was a research coordinator in a physician's office on the first floor of this building.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
You've come
yeah.
full circle, huh?
Come full circle. Yes, I worked as a research coordinator slash medical assistant. I had no idea what I was doing. I mean, honestly, when you come out of college, you think you know a lot. You're a freaking bachelor's in science, whatever major. You've done all these classes. But the real world, there's a lot of learning to do. I mean, that's what I want a lot of people to know, that when you come out of college, there's still a lot of learning to do. You're not ready for the world yet, right? I mean, that's a big part. In that one year, the gap year I took, where I worked in a physician's office, interacted with other people that were in different phases of life. That taught me a lot.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, for me, I just went from college directly into med school. I didn't take a gap year or anything like that. But yeah, you just like it's almost like a continuous string of education from when you're like 3 years old until when you finally finish med school. There's not any real break where you enter the so-called real world, right? You're just constantly surrounded by a student of some kind in some form of classroom. So I don't know. I mean, I think there's a reason, the average age of someone that gets into medical school in the United States, it's not 22, meaning it's not directly after you graduate from college. I think the average, I mean, last time I checked, which was, to be frank, a couple of years ago, was I think 24.
Yeah.
So, the average person takes at least a year, if not two, to do, whether research or a gap or an advanced degree, they choose to go to med school late, whatever it is. And, maybe that gives you a little more context of life. You're a little more mature. You don't take it for granted that, okay, you're just going through the process. You had another school, you had another test, you had another class. So I don't know. I mean, maybe that gap year and what you did is
It
benefiting
was,
you.
yeah. I mean, that was not the only gap year. So the funny story is,
Okay.
after I was working, I applied to med schools. I interviewed a bunch of places. I got into my first choice, which was Texas A&M. I enjoyed that because I was going to be close to home, and that was where I went to school. So I was like, oh, I can just continue living at A&M. Um, my wife and now was also, I knew her, I met her in college. Like we said, you meet your spouse in college. I met her in college. She was living there at the time. She was in finishing up her college, and so I was like, okay, well, I can be in College Station again. So I applied to med school at A&M and got in there. But the funny thing was, a lot of people that year, A&M had built a new med school, flashy new building, and more people ranked A&M as their number one choice. And A&M thought that they're not gonna get that many number one picks, so they allowed a lot more people to come into the class. So the match that year, the I think the TMD SAS match or whatever they call it.
Yeah, yeah.
That year, A&M accepted more students they had in their kids. Very Aggie thing to do. Uh, so they
The
accepted more.
Aggie math, huh?
Yeah, Aggie math. So they accepted more kids in their class that year than they had to, and then they were like, okay, we can't do that. We only have funding for 200 kids, where we have 225 kids accepted. So they offered a few options to people who want to defer for a year, and they offered doing either MPH, Masters of Public Health, Masters in Science, or doing an MBA. And I don't know what got into me that year. I was like, this is an opportunity, and I need to take this. And they were paying for a big part of the MBA, so I just deferred for another year.
Dude,
and
that's great. That's awesome. You know what? One thing we should do just in for people that aren't familiar, we've mentioned the match a few times. The match is basically for Texas medical schools, especially the public medical schools. It's a match system, and all of residency is a match. So what the match is basically someone like myself or Humayun, when we're going through the process and applying, every location, every school that we interview at, we rank them on a list from, let's say, hypothetically 1 through 10. And then those schools will also rank all of their interviewees from 1 through 100. And then there's actually a computer algorithm, it's the match algorithm, that will then try to rank as evenly and closely as possible all the ones with ones, twos with twos, threes with threes, to try to give the best possible outcome for the best largest number of people so that the maximum number of applicants match at their highest choice on the list. It actually it's interesting. It's a game theory problem that won the Nobel Prize. It's called the stable marriage problem, which is what the match is based off of. So that's what it is. That's what we keep talking about, the match. It's
yeah,
just how you get into medical school in Texas. The rest of the country uses it less so for med school, but all residency is based off the match.
yeah, it's a funny system, but that's for another day. But
It's
I
just
think
what it is, yeah.
yeah, I think going for that MBA program was probably one of the best decisions, man. I think the one thing we need to learn is identifying opportunity when it comes to you and just taking it. Not, and I think for me personally, that opportunity was a big one because it was one of those type of education that just blew my mind away. I was one of the younger people in the class. Most of the people in my MBA class had 5 to 6 years, even 10 years of work experience. Some of them were vets. Some had been in leadership positions in the military. There were other people that were in pretty high level positions in the previous jobs, and now they were doing MBAs to move even further. So just those classes, those discussions were amazing. I did my MBA at Mays Business School at Texas A&M, and the professors were amazing. We would show up to class, we would read a bunch of case reports from Harvard Case Review or other businesses, read about them, what they're doing, and then just come into class and discuss and learn from each other. And that would just like be like, oh, like someone would be like, oh yeah, we used to do that at Target, or I used to work at Aldi, and that's what we used to do. So people would just compare and contrast what they did based on what the cases are doing. We did this, at that time when I was during the MBA program. Netflix had a disastrous campaign where they like separated the two companies. One was a streaming company, and everyone just bashing the CEO. What kind of stupid move is this? What is streaming? What if you're gonna have like a whole Netflix just for watching videos online? That's such a bad model. And looking back now, and we studied that in detail and had a lot of opinions, and there was discussions about what should have been done. But those discussions and the ideas that came in those discussions were amazing. And now looking back, okay, Netflix is one of the biggest brands now in video streaming, and they kind of pioneered that. And we didn't know that back then. We were just discussing those things. So that MBA year was just, as a med student, you're just in that bubble of science, biochem, OChem, like just learning about science, science, science. The MBA doesn't teach you to be an accountant. It doesn't teach you to be a finance guy. It teaches you how to think. It teaches you how to problem solve, and that's what that year gave me, and I can't be thankful for that year.
Dude, that's awesome. I mean, I think anytime you're exposed to a variety of different people, ages, genders, races, cultural backgrounds, professional backgrounds, struggles, I mean, it just creates an opportunity that's right for everyone to learn from each other because you're not all in an echo chamber. You're not all basically similar, right? I think that's really interesting. I'm sure they learned a lot from you too, because being younger, you had a different perspective, maybe a generational perspective. That's really cool. I mean, so going back, you would for sure, let's assume if A&M didn't have, an excess of students that they accepted using the joy of Aggie math. I mean, would you have maybe done the MBA or, I mean, maybe not.
Maybe not. Maybe not. I don't think I would have done that. And
It's interesting. Like sometimes those chance opportunities in life they come about, and it's kind of like you said. You jump at it, right? You take the opportunity that's presented. I think that's huge. I mean, so many things in life happen that way, where opportunity comes about. It's fleeting, but if you take the chance, you jump on it. You're the one that kind of goes for it versus everyone else who's kind of sitting by the wayside, taking the tried and true path. It can amount to something awesome.
I mean, tell us about your opportunity in Australia, man. I know you did your residency you did your residency in Atlanta, right? And then
In Tampa, yeah. So after college, I went to med school at Baylor in Houston, and then I did my orthopedic residency in Tampa, in Florida, and then I did my first fellowship in hand and microsurgery at Emory in Atlanta, and then we had just had Rayan, my son, in that fellowship, so he was a baby, he was just a few months old, and then me, Samia, my wife, Samia, and Rayan, we moved to Australia, and I did a second fellowship in shoulder and elbow surgery. Um, which it was awesome. We lived in Sydney during it, and when I was in residency, I was kind of very torn between what subspecialty of orthopedic surgery I wanted to do, whether just hand and wrist surgery, shoulder and elbow surgery, because those are two different things. Even though someone listening may be like, "Oh, it's all in the arm," they're very subspecialized, very distinct things. Um, and I kind of wanted to do all of it. I wanted to be a true expert and specialist at surgery in the upper limb, fixing fractures, doing joint replacements, nerve repair, nerve transfers, all that stuff. And you can't really get that experience and really high level expertise with just a single fellowship. You really got to do both if you want to be complete at it. And so that was one reason why I did that second fellowship in shoulder and elbow. But the other reason, honestly, was to go abroad. The opportunity to live in Australia for 6 months to a year came about, And it was hard to pass up. Before our son was born, Sami and I talked a lot about, like once practice starts, once the so-called real life starts, are we ever going to take a break? Will you ever take a 6 month or 1 year break and just kind of travel and live abroad and, just disengage from life over here? I mean, realistically, no. No one does that. It's very difficult to. Um, and so when that opportunity came, we kind of just jumped on it. And thankfully, my wife was on board, and she's very adventurous in that regard. And we just up and moved with our 5-year-old baby, with no family, no help, no one. We didn't know anybody over there. And we found an apartment online in Sydney, and got all the credentialing done and everything. The people there were awesome, awesome people. The group was called the Sydney Shoulder Research Institute. It was amazing. Some of the best time I've had in my life. I mean, we really actually strongly considered, like, what if we just moved here? And just lived here. The culture in Australia, the people were so friendly, and they have such like a beautiful balance of work and life. Everyone works really hard, but everyone values their time off. They're very active. It's a very outdoor friendly vibe, and people don't hold it against you, right? You take a vacation here in the U.S., everyone's like, "Oh, you took your time off? What?" Over there, people like or encourage it. It's unheard of to not take your vacations, and everyone is supportive of it. Just the vibe was different. But yeah, it was a great time.
We're in such a cycle of just work, work, work. We never just like really slow down to see what life is truly about, right? I mean, we never really say, okay, let's just enjoy what's going on. And I don't know, I don't have experience in other fields, but as med students or as medical trainees, we're always just looking to the next step. So it's nice to kind of like just have, hey, like what, let's experience something new. And as part of my training, I mean, that'd be, as part of your training, you chose Australia to go there, you have this new experience, take that risk. So, which is amazing. Seems like our journeys are, we both went through the medical journey, and there's, see, that's kind of shows you how there's many different types of med students. I feel like your experience is different in a way that you started a goal and you got into the programs you wanted and got the and I feel like I had to like struggle to get into every single or fight. I had to be like, okay, I really need to get into this. And my internal medicine residency program, I feel like I ranked many programs as my first few choices. I ranked it my third program that I preferred. It wasn't my first choice, but I'm glad I did that. It was an amazing program. I mean, the camaraderie and I did my residency University of Texas in Houston, and in the Med Center, and the kind of pathology I saw there, and the people that I came across, the friends I made in residency, the training I got, a lot of independence, which was amazing. So it worked out for me, but I feel like my career has been always just uncertain, never sure if I'm going to be getting in the next program that I want to be in. Even with fellowship, I didn't rank into my first choice program, and had to be in a program where ended up loving it, ended up getting a lot of really good training, and that kind of teaches you. I mean, yeah, it's great if things you apply to things, you get in right away, and that's your first choice. You get all the amazing programs you want, and they turn out to be the way that you envision them to be, and you get amazing training. You become the physician you want to be, but sometimes things don't work out the way they're supposed to, right? And things you end up in places you don't want to be, but sometimes they end up being the most amazing and the best places for you, and
Totally,
makes you
totally.
who you are. I'm grateful for everything, all the training I went through. There's people on match day. I go through I go through TikTok, Instagram, match day every time, and it's just like people disappointed, crying. Oh,
Yeah.
my first choice, but it doesn't. That's not what defines you. And then there's med students like you who do well throughout the whole thing. They get into the program, they have minimal struggles. They get into orthopedics. They get into the job you want. And then there's people like me who have to like kind of grasp for every single opportunity they get, because not everything.
Bro, you're not struggling. You're doing awesome. But
Well,
it's
now
just
I
like,
am now,
yeah, yeah.
but that's the thing. Like I'm not a. Well, there's two different types of people, right? So, for some people, like education, learning, like taking tests comes easy to them, right? But there's students that like me that don't like, just taking tests is not easy. Like learning and processing information is not as easy, and I have to work at it. And but that work that I went through is what got me here, and now I'm much more confident in what I'm doing, and and that's the struggle I had to go through to be here, and that's kind of what medical training puts you through. It kind of, for some people, it's they belong there. They are top of the class. They get what they need. They do well, right? But then if people who are maybe not up for it, they go through the struggle and build a character, and then they kind of, because to be a physician, you have to be at the top of your game. But I think everything I went through is what got me to the point where I'm very happy now. I'm very successful. I have a great practice. I enjoy my practice. A lot of patients love me. And I feel like, for the most part, I'm doing a good job for them and being a good physician, being a good cardiologist for them. So I think there's two journeys, but I want med students to know that it's okay. It's okay. The struggles that you go through are okay. They're not, that's not the end of the world. You're not less than someone else. You're not better than someone else. Everyone has a different journey, and that journey is what matters. And in the end, that journey makes you ready for the destination. Yeah.
No, totally, man. I mean, it's funny, like through that website I have, Med School Declassified, I probably get like 30, 40 emails a month, or at least I'm ashamed to admit maybe that many that I check. It's hard to keep up with it, but so many emails from students, right? Like a lot of college students. I kid you not, a couple middle school students who are already set in their mind at that young age that they want to be doctors, which maybe is premature. But a lot of students in college, especially, that are applying to med school and can't get in. They've tried a bunch. They've tried a bunch, and it's so much of that. Kind of like how you're remarking, Humayu, is they're very distraught, right? Like they have this vision. It's just like crystallized in their mind. I've always wanted to be a doctor. This is how I dream of myself in the future, right? And it's very disheartening for them. And I find myself a lot when I email them back. I talk to them back and forth a bit when we go over their CV and, okay, where can you shore up your application? How can you make it a little stronger, right? So much of it is honestly just counseling and telling them, like, hey, you really want this. You've told me yourself. Some things are just difficult. Some things take more than one attempt. You just got to go for it. If this is what you really want, you have to know, so you don't have any regrets down the road in the future, that you gave it everything you have. And everything you have doesn't mean just one attempt. Sometimes one, sometimes two, sometimes many. I mean, everyone knows this cliche who watches basketball. Michael Jordan was cut from his varsity team his first year. I mean, he potentially one of the greatest athletes of all time. He failed at something he wanted so badly at that age, but it hardened him. It made him the player he was. He just did not want to take no. He did never wanted to be sat on the bench again. And we are much less skilled versions of of that, right? But it's just, I mean, it just shows that like perseverance is so important because failure happens to everybody. Um, so yeah, I mean, I don't think that regardless of the path, I mean, everyone arrives in their own way. Like I didn't have the same struggles you did in that way. But like talking about growing up in high school, I mean, I was born and raised here, so I didn't have the change in culture, I guess, of moving here. But it's funny, like my entire life from first grade until 12th grade, I went to an all boys Christian, a Catholic school. And so when I was in high school, I went to Jesuit in Dallas. I was the first Muslim kid ever at Jesuit. And then 2 years later, my brother was the second Muslim kid ever at Jesuit. And, it was just interesting. Like my whole life, I was like school wise, very much surrounded by people that did not look like me, didn't have the same religion as me. Their cultural backgrounds were completely different than mine. Both my parents were immigrants. Um, so it was just a very different environment. And I don't know, I feel like in those situations, because a lot of my friends were in similar situations, you either kind of go into your shell a little bit, or you just kind of seize the moment and it makes you a bit, I don't know, like hyper confident, more outgoing, to maybe to fit in, or to not feel like you have any baggage, or to try to put aside differences. I don't know, maybe that's kind of what happened to me. I never felt like I was secondary, or that, oh my gosh, that sense of otherness,
Yeah.
like that never really happened to me, or at least I never really consciously acknowledged it, even though like logically it was there.
It
You know
was
what I
kind of
mean?
like maybe you adapted slowly to just kind of stand out a little bit more and just be that extra confident, just because you were a little different.
Maybe, yeah, maybe.
So who knows? I mean, what we go through, that's life. But I think we're getting at 45-minute mark. I don't know if we want to. We always talk about how we want to keep it to a point and not bore people for too long. But I think it was a good, good time to end here. I think we have a lot more to kind of discuss, and continue, and we'll continue to bring our experiences into the podcast. Also discuss specific topics as we go. So it's kind of good session, good kind of talking about this and kind of reflecting on life as well. So,
Yeah, it's refreshing nostalgia, that's for sure. Thinking about the high school, college, and med school days.
but
That's
the
definitely a thing.
message is that training, growing up, college, the journey you go through is has an importance. Every experience you have is an importance, and every experience you have, failure, successes, is what gets you to where you are right now. It allows you success, allows you to deal with a lot of adversities that come your way as you grow up. So don't worry about those adversities. Just learn how to move forward and get past it.
Yeah, totally, man. I mean, it's I'll leave with a quote to be cheesy here, but actually, my favorite quote is a Dr. Seuss quote. It's "Don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened." That's just the journey. You just enjoy the
Beautiful.
process.
That's beautiful.
All right, my brother. Till
All right.
next time. See
Till
you,
next
everybody.